Hello, kindred spirits. I would like to introduce myself. I am Southern Mystic Tammy P., also known as Mystic Divine. I am creator of MysticDivinations.com and host of the Magical Mystical Divinations podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I will keep it short and sweet. I wanted to create a place where I can share with others how magical thinking has changed my life and allowed me to deal with common stressors and to navigate life in a much more profound way. It has enabled me to be the best version of myself on this day and every day when I seek inner wisdom and inner peace. Not all days are perfect, of course. But let's not delve too deep today into that. I first want to tell you why I think I'm able to help others. Because not only was I born 12 years after my mother had a tubal ligation, and not only did we both survive a horrific car crash when she was 5.5 months pregnant with me, where she had to be cut out of the car because she was T-boned by a person who ran a red light. Not only did my mother lose the amniotic fluid around me from the impact of the steering wheel in her abdomen from a heavy 1960s model car due to premature rupture of the membrane, nor could they find my heartbeat when she was brought to the hospital because the trauma of the accident caused fetal distress, affecting my heart rate. It wasn't even detected immediately because this was in the late 1960s and technology was very limited. I think they used something called a Doppler back then to detect babies' heartbeats. But the doctors literally thought I had already died due to the car crash. But since their focus was getting my mother stabilized, that allowed time for them to recheck my heartbeat and find a very weak heartbeat. And obviously, well, I'm still here. But she had to have complete bed rest and remain in the hospital for weeks due to a broken pelvis and knee. And then she had to have bed rest for months at home up until basically when I was born. When I was finally born, I was born behind the veil, which is rare on its own. But considering that my mother lost most of the amniotic fluid during that car accident, that makes the whole fact that I was born behind the veil very special. So you might ask, what is being born behind the veil? Well, it means a baby is born still enclosed in the amniotic sac, which is a thin membrane that surrounds the fetus during pregnancy. This is a rare event often seen as a sign of good luck in many cultures and is associated with superstitions about a child having special insights, such as psychic abilities or even immunity to drowning. I don't know about that, but also known as a Caul birth or known as a mermaid birth. And the babies born behind the veil are about 1 in 80,000 births. So again, the caul is the amniotic membrane that sometimes covers a baby's head or body at birth. I was completely veiled. I don't really think being completely or partially veiled has anything to do with it. But many cultures view being born with a caul as a sign of good luck, providing lifelong protection. Some traditions believe a child born with a caul possesses extraordinary abilities, such as psychic powers, healing, or the ability to see the future. I'm not sure I have that ability, but maybe you know someone born behind the veil, or maybe you were born behind the veil. I've heard stories about it throughout my whole life since I was born that way. People talked about it, and I always found it fascinating. Another term that I'm known as, and babies born behind the veil, are known as caul bearers. I did find a group on Facebook. It's not very active right now for caul bearers. I joined it a few years ago. I wish it would be a little more active, but there's probably other groups I could find. But there are many superstitions surrounding this rare birth. So the veil, when in aftertime, they believe protected its bearer against danger. Thus, it was superstitiously gathered and preserved as a valuable charm against malevolent spirits. The caul, moreover, made one special, destined for greatness, and a few names you may recognize who were born in caul are Napoleon, Queen Elizabeth II, James I and VI, Byron and Sigmund Freud, Liberace and David Copperfield. But other interesting facts is that sometimes the membrane, the sac, was presented to the mother after the birth and would often be dried by attaching them to a piece of paper or kept as a lucky talisman, where they were sold to sailors at sea for their protection against drowning. In Roman times, midwives would sell the cauls at high prices to lawyers who believed they would guarantee them legal victory. Powdered caul could be made into potions to cure malaria, and later on coal miners thought they would protect against explosions. But not all cultures saw them as lucky. In the Baltic, if the Caul was dark and the child was assumed to become a witch or a sorcerer. And in Romania, a child born with a Caul would become a vampire when they died. In some cultures, in-Caul births were associated with curses and bad omens, such as the medieval Inquisition. The inquisitors accused Caul bearers of heresy, along with midwives and healers, for suspicion of witchcraft and supernatural powers. And the penalties at that time were various tortures and punishments, including burning at the stake. But, the certain Native American tribes thought that these babies could see into the spirit world. And in the middle regions of the Great Continent, a child born with a Caul is viewed as mildly cursed. And then a special burial procedure was observed to ensure that the person doesn't return to, as undead. But, the truth behind these rumors is that they often are self-prophesized. But the truth is, there's really nothing special about the people who are born with a Caul versus those who are not, because I think we all have special gifts. But, here in our modern times, we recognize that the rarity of Caul births, and they're respected. But the majority of babies born in the hospital nowadays versus being born in someone's house or out in the fields, and these births now are attended by obstetrician, and because, I think a small percentage are even attended by midwives, but, in the U.S., doctors artificially rupture the membranes to hurry along the birth, so Caul births are more and more rare. But as for me and my special abilities, good luck or curses or otherwise, well, all I can say is my life has been very interesting, and I have studied many, many different religions and lifestyles, and after I finally became comfortable with my uniqueness, I created a website called mysticdivinations.com, and that's mystic with a K, by the way, so I'd like for you to check it out. And visit my other various social platforms if you want to. One thing I do want to mention, I love to give a shout out to people, is I found this wonderful wig and these accessories at Trends of Aluna, which is in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I also encourage you to visit mysticdivinations.com. But I hope to do more videos. I'm not really good at this yet, and we'll see where it goes. But if you like this video, stay tuned, because there's going to be more interesting tidbits, superstitions, and words of wisdom for all sorts of astrological, metaphysical, supernatural stuff, because that's kind of what my gig is. Anyway, blessed be to one and all.